Raila Odinga's former chief agent in the last general election, Siatabao Olekanchori, is a gun for hire. I have taken time to look at the new book, Why Raila Lost, or Why Raila is Not the Fifth. And even just Baba, in fact, I said Baba the Fifth. Why Baba is not the fifth? And there is no doubt that he is on a mission, same as that of Miguna in 2012, in the run-up to 2013 general election, when Mwai Kibaki henchmen decided to run a smear campaign against Raila Odinga. Welcome to the Bold Analysis. Thank you very much for supporting this podcast. We'll try to make this the most informative political podcast in Kenya. From wherever you're watching, kindly just confirm your subscription, confirm your subscription, and also give us your feedback. For those who have gotten the copy, I am still pondering whether I should spend some few coins to buy that book. But today, I spent time reading this article, How We Lost. This article, Raila's election chief agent pens damning expose. If you look at it, that is what is in the title. Now, if you look at today's newspapers, both The Nation and The Standard, they were all running with that story in the headline. For those who read the newspapers today, I'm just trying to get the headline for this newspaper here. They all ran that story, did that story. Yes, I think I've gotten it here. The headline was this: Raila's Untold Secrets. I'm wondering whether actually there is something there called secret. For those who have not found an opportunity to read, I have broken down a bit. I've tried to break it down into 1, 2, 3 segments. What he is saying there, and I want to humbly ask you to take time so that we digest together this, and I will also explain in this analysis why I strongly believe he is a man on his own mission. There seems to be something he's saying, and that throughout the election, he never sat down with Baba or Martha except during the Supreme Court ruling. But then, most of his critics have said that looking at the spirit of that book, does that book envision a chief agent of a presidential candidate? Does it? And I agree, I partly agree with Robert Alai that the first mistake by the AZIMIO was first to pick him as a chief agent. In his reaction, I think he has taken more time speaking about non-issues, clearly not answering the question of the chief agent. I'm not seeing him in the picture. Now, I've decided to brand it into his discussions to 4. Raila Odinga's inside Raila Odinga's hectic command center. Now, in this aspect, he alluding to a contest between Interior Security PS, Permanent Secretary Karanja Kibicho, and John Musheru, who are all struggling to assert their authority and relevance in that command center. In that book, he's saying that there was a push and pull between Musheru and Kibicho because that was actually perceived to be the nerve center of AZIMIO la Umoja. And I partly agree with him that yes, there could have been fights between the two factions. Then Uhuru Kenyatta sent their Muhoho Kenyatta his cousin, or rather his brother, to take charge of that command center. And in that book, he actually says one thing that I'm going to say in that chapter. He's saying that when Muhoho Kenyatta came, Muhoho Kenyatta appointed Makau Mutua to be the lead, to lead that command center, even though it was not well resourced according to him. But that was partly bringing back Musheru, who Mutua was more comfortable working with Musheru than Karanja Kibicho. So, in that, he says Muhoho Kenyatta appeared genuine for Raila's presidential ambition. Just from that command center aspect, there is one conclusion I can make from that, or there is one observation I can make. The move by Uhuru Kenyatta to deploy his brother to that command center shows the level of seriousness and commitment he had for Raila Odinga to become the 5th president. That means that was something that was close to him, and he was actually trying to monitor. And now, sending Muhoho Kenyatta to make sure that Karanja Kibicho and the others would move could also tell you that Uhuru Kenyatta took Raila Odinga's presidential bid really high stakes. Second thing, he's saying Uhuru's cabinet part of Uhuru's cabinet stayed aloof. And here he's alluding to one gentleman, Matiang'i, who was totally aloof and was not interested on Raila Odinga's presidential ambitions. Now, this is, I'm just asking myself this question. Was it even necessary? Was it necessary that all those who stayed with Uhuru Kenyatta in the cabinet, was it a must for all of them to support Raila Odinga's presidential bid? Because remember, some were not even popular. Someone like Rachel Omamo, I saw when at Uhuru Kenyatta's farewell, she was actually in tears, when they were making that exit. But for Raila Odinga to campaign, he didn't need Uhuru's cabinet to campaign, members to campaign. So that assertion that to some extent, the fact that part of Uhuru's cabinet never supported Raila's presidential bid, for me it's flat, because to what value, or rather, there is no value that all those members of cabinet would add, if apart from just maybe contributing to Raila Odinga's presidential kitty. But then, that to me, you cannot blame that to be one of the reasons why Raila never made it. It looks shallow and probably just writing dramas. Now, I strongly disagree with him in this part, that Raila Odinga's partial cabinet was aloof. Ole Kanchori must understand this. The reason why, and you can also challenge me, the reason why Raila Odinga named that partial cabinet, it was for some few reasons, and I think I analyzed here. If Raila was to become the president, there was no guarantee that is what would be his cabinet. Those are the people that will be included in his cabinet. That partial cabinet was done to create the perception, or rather assurance, that his government is going to have regional balance. Look at Mombasa, where Hassan Joho was put in the Ministry of Land. Mombasa had a problem with lands, and then Joho would be the Mombasa point person. So, in terms of what is in it for us, Joho would go to Mombasa and say that first we are going to get a CS in terms of land for the first time. Look at Kalonzo Musyoka. When that partial cabinet was being named, Kalonzo Musyoka had not made up his mind whether he's going to the ballot or he's going to support Raila Odinga. And it was named the day that Raila named Martha Karua as the running mate. they had to create, and Raila Odinga team wanted to create, they wanted to tell the nation that we are going to form a government of national unity. Saitabao, Kanchori knows this. And I think it's just being economical with the truth. It was not that Raila was going to name those people in the cabinet. In terms of cabinet, it was totally a different thing. And then the other reason was, at that time, I remember it was in May. It was in June. At that time, there were high-profile defections that were going on. William Ruto was raiding AZIMIO day and night, and was also giving counter offers, including Kalonzo Musyoka and even Martha Karua. So the assertion that there are those who did not support Raila Odinga's presidential bid because they could not be part of that cabinet, for me, could not be blamed. I don't see that. In every election, there is the pre-election pact. Even Kenya Kwanza had it. And not everyone could be named in that cabinet. He's saying that Pampas boys under Uhuru Kenyatta's umbrella, shadow, felt like they were left out. Now, Uhuru Kenyatta was to have a share of government. If Uhuru was to have a share of government, of course he was going to sort his boys. So I've just looked at those three, and I just saw a man who seems to have just sat down and watched some CCTV and is just transcripting between Anyango came up, when Anyango left, Kamau came, when Kamau left, Wachira here, when Wachira left, Odhiambo then came back. He's just reporting drama. And sorry to say, I am not seeing substance in that book. If you are seeing any substance, maybe there is a problem with my eyes, but I will be accommodative enough. This is why I believe that Ole Kanchori's book is a gun for hire. Timing. When you are telling us about why Raila lost, and it is a debate that we've had, there is nothing in that book that personally I have not analyzed. If it is Uhuru's men, we've analyzed. If it is the agents or command center, we've analyzed. We've analyzed almost everything. So there is nothing he's doing apart from just eliciting a debate about what happened. Now, that debate, I'm persuaded to believe it has been released, or rather that book has been released strategically to counter open the server calls that is gaining momentum. Can I tell you, Ole Kanchori was supposed to release this book last year. For those of us who are in this country, listen to Spice FM. The very first interviews are saying, I am going to release it. I'm going to launch it. Then it was postponed to somewhere January. It was not released. Then now. Now, some of these things that have happened, there is nothing that is reported that happened between August and April. So this is a book that immediately after results are announced, you could still sit down and take 1 week or 3 days to put pieces together and release it. What's the timing? The timing is very skeptical. That is why I believe this is a gun for hire. Look at it. The blame on the command center makes me think about it this way. Was the command center a center to manufacture evidence of a vote rigging? Okay. And are you telling us that the case was dropped at Supreme Court because of evidence? No. It was dropped because of the political convenience of the players. Now, the rigging schemes Raila pursued were electronic system. What was spoken, what was at the last, the discussion about election malpractice in the last general election was never on the AZIMIO wing. It has never been on how the command center never worked, because that command center was to organize the agents and the so the vote rigging scheme was done according to AZIMIO. It was done in the electronic gadget, electronic transmission system. That's what they're talking about. Now, the personality blaming is just something to put people's names together and looks, sorry to say, a smear campaign. Doesn't look good. Even though he is saying that Uhuru meant well for it. It is indeed true. And we are human beings. It can't be that all those around Uhuru Kenyatta supported Raila Odinga's presidential ambition. But again, he's also saying that Uhuru dispatched the brother, Muhoho Kenyatta, MK, to take charge of the center. So according to me, he is acknowledging the challenge was on the electronic system. The challenge was not in these personalities. I'm wondering how many votes Makau Mutua was supposed to add to Raila Odinga in his personal capacity. He comes from Ukambani, in Kitui, where the person that was to deliver votes there is Charity Ngilu and Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. Now, in that book, the tone of that book, this is my punchline, the tone of that book does not promote the ideals of free and fair election. Instead, that book glorifies power grabbing by dark forces. In what he's saying, he seems to be creating a perception that there is what AZIMIO needed to do technically to knock out William Ruto. He doesn't say that IEBC just needed to conduct free and fair election. That's it. It's glorifying those dark forces by telling us about how Uhuru Kenyatta controlled shallow state and William Ruto controlled deep state. And Raila Odinga could have believed in it. About an election, it is not about how many people believe in the presidential ambition of Raila Odinga within Uhuru Kenyatta's circle. It's about the commission conducting free and fair election. Spare us the drama. Lastly, what was the essence of narrating his friendship with Uhuru Kenyatta, with William Ruto since 2010, and the assertiveness on how he edged out Uhuru Kenyatta? If that book is about why Raila lost, what was the essence of his relationship with William Ruto? Looks like someone who is seeking for attention from the head of state. I don't believe this expose was just a gun for hire. Thank you for watching. I want to read your feedback on this. Take some good notes. Not everything is perfect, but not answered in that book.